Hey guys. It's Wednesday evening. It is the Esoteric Lounge. It's not my show. It's Squirrel Sniper's show. I'm the sidekick. I'm the Ed McMahon to his esoteric Johnny Carson. What's the other guy's name on Conan O'Brien? I don't remember. He should be up relatively shortly. So I was supposed to do a little, here he is. Sniper, how are you?
Yeah, good. How's things? Can you hear me okay?
I can't hear you.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Not a lot of sound.
Testing.
I can hear me, but not you.
You can hear me, but not you. How about now? Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
I think Sniper's going out. He's going to come back in. We'll try this again. I was gonna say I was supposed to be on Manifest doing a question and answer with him earlier, but I never heard back. I hope everything is okay with him. If anyone went over to hang out with us, I apologize.
How about now? Can you hear now?
I can hear you. Sounds good.
There's quite a few fireworks going off at the moment. Can you hear the fireworks as well? But they're not
Can't
too
hear the
off-putting.
fireworks. Yep.
As long as they're not too off-putting,
No, not bad at all.
I can always take. So I hope everyone can't see anyone in the chat just yet.
No, I think we got a few people here, but they'll come. They know what night it is.
It's Cosmo.
You all walked and taken care of.
Yeah, he did that much earlier. But he's begging to go out. It's just not the right time now, unfortunately. But he's got a little area out the back here he can do with if he really needs to. So,
Want to give a bit of an intro what we're discussing tonight?
yeah, it's it's that long question. The long question: if we have been brought up spiritual or religious, and we're seeking an alternative, then where do we look? I hope it's not too noisy.
No, we're doing good.
Right, well,
Hi, Darren.
that's if everyone's ready. I'll start with a deep thought experiment. It's also a deep spiritual question. When we look for inner peace and realization from the freedom of the ego, why do we often drift to the east? Why do we feel to be compelled to look outside of our own Western history? And so it gives us a broader kind of philosophy, really. I hope that's not too loud.
No, we're good.
No, all good. I propose that the West does have its own path, a perfect equivalent path, I should say, because it's a quest for realization. But the Western path is built with two simple, fundamental kind of principles, which is the unconditional love and forgiveness. Now, with this path, realization that a higher source, or call it God, is ever present with you and is part of you. So that's the pure path, kind of was overshadowed here in the West. It's kind of often filtered through institutions, I should say, that and at great heavy cost. And I think we need to examine that tonight and get to the bottom of why we have these questions. Now, the core question is spiritual foundations. Instead of being a foundation in the Western world with the agenda of sin at birth, our spiritual kind of identity foundationally is completely different to the West, to the East, sorry. In philosophy, comparing the core foundations, there's definitely a comparison when we're searching for the truth to the Eastern, when we're stepping away from the original core and we're looking for other core foundations. We call that defining pure path. A couple of little fireworks there for you, Eric.
Oh wow.
Have you got a favorite color?
It changes around, but usually green.
Green. I'll do a green one for you. Have a green one, please.
I'm seeing flashes of green.
I think there's more red than greens. There'll be a big blue one at some point. There's always a big blue one. There's a good one. Beautiful. I should really just turn this off for a second.
Adam wants to know what the occasion is. I forget what this is called. The British holiday, Bonfire Day. So our conversation is tonight. Spiritual traditions of East and West.
So, we'll digress. So, we need to define the destinations of our path. Now, whether or thousand, the goal is enlightenment or liberation. The Buddha nature that simplifies the obscure, the spiritual path of the Buddha is to wake up and to realise that unity is the things of resulting in completion in everything. But the Western ideology is designed by a game, and that's selfless, unconditional love. With a radical forgiveness. And that in itself is a non-dual practice. You can't truly forgive someone until you realise that you're. And then you can forgive. It's seeing it in both perspectives. Now, the results is expected.
Hey.
The dissolution of the separate ego, which kind of results into universal love. But practice depends on the starting point. So if we use the first analogy of the clear jug. So if you imagine your soul, the beautiful glass jug that holds pure light. Yeah. Now, the east is that the jar is made perfect, but it's been outside for too long, so it just gets covered in dust. That dust is your ego, or you may call it Maya, the illusion, the dust. It just gets covered. It's your attachments. It's your ignorance, it's your ego. And the spiritual task is to dust the ego off until the light shines back through. That's the Eastern philosophy. You clean yourself because you realise the light is inside you. Compare this to the shift of the Western ideology. Sin, where the doctrine of original sin profoundly changes the course of the Western path. It says you don't start as a dusty king. You start already as a flawed, fallen, and broken king. So this brings us to the broken jar. That was a big one, that one. So the broken jar didn't get dusty because it was already shattered by an ancient fall. It's inherently ruined already. And that's inherent. So oh, that was a big one. Right, hopefully some peace for a second. So the consequence, the spiritual task shift is entirely from realization to redemption. You are told you cannot fix this yourself. You need an external force, like a savior, to pay a debt, to give the pieces back together, to atone for the guilt you were born with. So this kind of idea, crucially, it's only in the Western view. Well, it wasn't just the Western view. There are ancient traditions like Gnosticism. They also championed the idea of the inherent divine spark, the light within the jar. But Gnosticism and similar other paths, they were systematically suppressed and condemned as heresy by the church, which formalised the doctrines of original sin. So there was a whole control mechanism put in place, which we'll go into a little bit later, when people try to escape and find other things along the way because of their core foundation wasn't stable in the first place. But you're a sinner, then looking for answers, it's all to do with your morals. If you have bad morals from the very core, if you're told you've already sinned before you've started, is that a very moral standing point? So that's just one question to ponder. But going back to kind of what leads us to the issue of dark practices, right? When a dominant culture defines itself an absolute goodness, say God, and frames an opposition as an absolute evil, say Satan, it creates a powerful shadow, let's just say. Now, any natural, powerful, or mystical practice that did not fill the church's narratives was immediately cast as satanic or dark magic. And yes, there was dark magic, but everything got thrown into that shebang. The institution, by drawing this extremely sharp chronicle position, they pretty much sought to destroy everything. But the only thing they didn't destroy was the actual forbidden energies. They just defined them as ultimate counter forces, because you can't banish energy. When you're searching for something and you find the truth, it resonates. That's what truth is all about. It's finding that frequency. Now, if the church had, instead of affirmed the inner light, the unconditional love, right, the West would have naturally followed the path of realization. The whole conversation would be about awakening the light, not about redeeming darkness. So we begin to ask why we look eastwards. Now, it doesn't. The answer's not the lack of wisdom in the West. It's more the historical redirection of that wisdom that we're seeking. You know, our deepest spiritual yearning is a quest for oneness, I suppose, to unify. You know, to get to that ultimate place where there is just truth. You know, and it's, I think, looking that way, it makes the same. The quest for enlightenment, you know, the destination's identical when we're looking just for truth, a moral compass. So every spiritual path has its fault lines, and we identify, well, The identifier rests on a simple assumption, really. Whether we believe our soul is a clear glass jar that just needs dusting off.
Hey,
Or
Sniper,
whether, yeah,
I'm going to interrupt for a minute. Just got a $5 super chat from Shirley,
oh,
who said,
Shirley.
Sniper can sense that I'm here anyway.
I know. She's
I
a
thought you'd appreciate
star.
that message.
Yeah, make me smile.
Thank you so much, Shirley.
That's amazing. She's an angel. So it's, do we have to? Is it the recognition that we need to look inside ourselves, or are we asking for external repair? As in the broken jar, actually. Or, you know, the sin at birth agenda, it shifts an entire practice from the task of inner realization, which is awakening the divinity that we already possess, to an external redemptation, I suppose you could call it, fostering inherent guilt. And it's guilt that isn't ours. When we're told it's already ours, you know, we sometimes question, and when we do question, we want to find the pure path. So we only have to reject the inherent native of the brokenness. The true path of the West is a radical call to self-recognition in our own inherent perfection. And in doing that, we're able to forgive ourselves, empathize, and we can let the practice of unconditional love be our daily practice. Spiritual path, because that's the core of it.
I think it's a simpler path.
Whereas, yeah, well, it's from the start. I think, you know, when we stop seeking for a savior, for a debt that we didn't owe, and we realize that the light that we were born with is already in us, it's a liberating spiritual experience. and it's identifying. Now I've got a couple of questions. I spoke about the church creating this shadow by defining anything that's opposed to God, satanic. In Yodic philosophy, the inherent dangers or consequences of projecting one's own internal darkness onto an external person.
Can you say that one more time?
What are the inherent dangers or consequences of projecting your own internal darkness and attachments? Let's just say your mayors, as it were, your own illusions that you've created onto an external person.
From a yogic perspective?
Yeah.
It's a good question. I'd say that you're stuck in samsara, which is the reel of repeated lifetime of suffering and rebirth. So the consequences are never, in a Western tradition, it would be we condemn ourselves to hell. In the Eastern tradition, we condemn ourselves to an endless cycle of death and rebirth and suffering in between. But there's always hope. If you find the right guru that points it back to you. We're getting an echo on your end a little bit, Sniper. If you find the right guru who gives you your light back, the name guru itself, the term guru itself, is light bearer or revealer of light. So if you don't have the good fortune of getting the right guru in a particular lifetime, again, you're just stuck in that wheel of suffering, rebirth, and death.
We've got a. I defined the pure Western path.
We lost a bit of your audio again. And there's an echo with my.
Sorry there.
It's okay.
There we go. I define the pure Western path as agape.
Still pretty late.
The Western path, agape. The analog of the clean jar. By dusting off the ego.
Can you guys hear Sniper okay? We try again.
Okay.
Toy Pup says if you could leave the stream and come back up. Bloom, thank you so much, my friend. Very, very much appreciate that. Another big thanks to Shirley. We're waiting for Sniper to come back up. Finish our conversation. We're talking about the possibility of blending a Western and Eastern tradition, spiritual paths that might not be so divergent as we believe.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Excellent.
Got some more fireworks going. It's non-stop until about 1 o'clock. So there's another 2 hours of this. Shall we go into the powers of will?
Yes. Before we do, I think Adam had a question, or it's more of a statement. I think an immediate response to projecting a savior complex or whatever it is, you will meet your savior and he will damn you.
Yeah, because it's the mind. It's at least you're looking internal yourself. You're not being told externally. So I can't even hear myself now.
It's not too bad though.
That's good. It's extremely loud here. It's gone very quiet now though, but when they do go off, it's extremely loud. So yes, the power of will, the dissolution of the ego. Now, Western focused traditions like Hermeticism, ceremonial magic, even some forms of Kabbalah, they emphasize on cultivation of the will to manipulate subtle forces. Like thought forms, or commune with a divine power, unseen force. This emphasizes on the power and the individual will, and it's what can lead you to dark magic if it's associated with a will that is selflessly directed. So it's all about who you are. It's your perspective on life that makes you do the magic to the level that you are at, as it were. So no matter what frequency you are at, if you are having going through a low time, you're performing low magic. If you're at high frequency, you're producing high magic. It's that simple. There is no dark magic. There is no light magic. It's about the frequency that you are on. The Eastern focus, in contrast, say Buddhism, they consider the ego or will as a primary source of suffering. And the goal there is to relinquish the demand in the will to favor the transcendent selflessness, as it were. a selfless wisdom to let everything drop away, for everything to become one. And so that is the crunch between the East and the West with the will. We tend to not look at that point from the from the Western perspective, because we're always talking about free will and do we have free will. So the importance of the monarchic, it's a great word, the monarchic self, is that Western esoteric traditions largely developed within a kind of cultural matrix of different Abrahamic faiths. You've got Christianity and Judaism, and it kind of emphasizes a created God with an importance of an individual soul being distinct from that power source, that God, where the esoteric path often suggests that it means that for an individual is to ascend back to the God, to perfect their soul. That's kind of their initial.
Do you think that the esoteric path of alchemy is more closely related to some of the spiritual traditions? You know, the metaphor of turning lead into gold, working with the tantric basis of raising lower energy through the chakra system.
You've got macro to micro, as above, so below. You've also got the physical and the spiritual, and both paths are the same. So you use the same principles. So it's transforming the ego into a spiritual navigator. And that is about acceptance and letting go. Yeah. The
Do you think your own path has become more simplified as you traveled through esoteric traditions?
yeah, because it strips away everything. It literally does that. It kind of you get to see everything play out, and once it's played out once, you recognize it for what it is, and you never have to question it again. Yeah, there are some questions that always have other questions, but esoterically, when you find the truth, it will be shown from different multiple perspectives.
Duncan wants to know what would you say the best source of information? What would you say is the best source of information on the esoteric path? He says Luc Ben Benoist. I believe that's French, right? Luc.
Luc Ben Boyce. Who would say is the best source? Yourself. the best source is yourself, because when you come across new information, it's remembering. There is something inside you, because you've been searching for this question, the answer for the question. You don't even know the question sometimes. But once you've read the answer, you realize you've been asking the question. This is the thing about the esoteric. And you find that everything is suddenly starting to connect. It's a shame Jerry just hangs around. You know, if Jerry had a few extra IQ, he would understand. He could just go to a different panel.
Yeah. Thank you, nature guy.
We've got to really talk a little bit about the dualistic nature of the esoteric power, because while we've got the greatest mystics, we have the Christian mystics and the Sufis. They obtain extraordinary kind of levels of compassion. Now, the Western esoterics is the dualistic. Now, in the Eastern, this isn't an issue, because their aim is for the oneness within the dualistic ideology. It involves, its inherent dualistic techniques and designs for practical outcomes, I should say, like healing, knowledge, protection, creating.
Do you think that Jesus ultimately taught a non-dual path when he said the Father and I are one? The Christ within me is the Christ within you. Do you think his message was lost?
His alchemy was putting the individual Trinity together. It's the fleur de lis. It's a very old, ancient French symbol of the Trinity.
Right. Do you think he had meetings, opportunities where he learned?
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, the gathering of just the even the Greek scholars, they were all known to sit down and gather, and it's I think the world back then was much an easier place, because if you were looking for knowledge, people there willing to share it, because there was no internet to
Right.
put out false information. Information was it would have to resonate with you. You couldn't back it up unless you could back it up.
Duncan wants to know, says, am I right in saying that the esoteric path is inherently designed to be only understood by a few people? Is that a weakness in its philosophy?
Yes and no. Nature will always put the right amount of people wanting to look into the esoteric ways to keep it ever going. That's what nature's all about. When someone uncovers something that someone doesn't know, they accidentally pass it on to someone else that they didn't know. Some of this stuff I've known for a long time, and some of this stuff I've come across last week. So it all plays a part.
Adam says, what about all those sophists for sales in ancient Greek times? And would that be the truth for sale? Or would it be what somebody wanted to hear for a price?
Right. Well, there were stories of the Greek fairs that they used to have at Alexandria and in Egypt as well. And and it was an oracle, and the Greeks were renowned for the businessmen to use oracles and kings to use oracles and people using them for many different things, and they'd have these huge camps for maybe 5-6 months of a year, and it would be like a trading post as well, and this would be the most important thing. All these oracles were linked with runners. Greece was known for the best runners in the world, hence the marathon. And so these runners were spies. And so they would have the information from the ports. They would pay ransomly to the new people that came from the ports and find out information before the information had even got to on land. So there was a whole network back then that was adjoined with the occult. Has always gone along with the royalties and those that rule. The banking system has always used the occult. It's that's why people always look at it. Once you see what is happening in reality, you kind of want to know how they've managed to work in reality. Any other questions?
What steered you more towards west than the east? Not that you haven't explored the east, but your heart called you more towards Western practices than Eastern, with the exception of Christianity. Although I find mystical Christianity has a rich contemplative.
I would have to say I've gone from Western into looking into the Eastern. I've gone back to the Western with pretty much everything. He's combined the two, and there's a word called it's it's the highest level of magician that you can get in the Kabbalah. And it's all about self. It's not self, it's not selfless. It's not selfness. It's the understanding that the chaos theory came from the one. The very thought at the very beginning. That's what we've all come from. And we stepped away from that into chaos theory, which created the ultimate material realm that we're stuck in. So going back to the original single eye in a metaphysical sense, in the fact that I now no longer support any football team. I couldn't give a monkey's about football. I used to love football, but now I have no joy whatsoever for one team beating another team.
Hmm.
It has no effect on me at all whatsoever. That might call me cynical. It might. When you win, but I'm also for you when you lose. Like, why would you say to someone that your football team won, and then when they lose and someone says to you, "Oh, unlucky," and you have a go at them, they're saying, "My football team lost." Of course they lost. You're going to be upset because you're living in a dual realm. That eliminates the,
Right.
it eliminates the heartache. You can still love things. It's all about love. I can kick a ball around, enjoy kicking a ball around. But I don't have to focus all my energy on an outside source. And where does that energy go? Some very big corporations that make lots of money, which is your other energy. Two forms of energy.
Do you think Kabbalah is strictly a Western tradition?
Because mathematical.
Is that mathematics?
It deals with construction.
Is that what makes it Western, or
it makes it both, because it is mathematical at its core. It's about energy. We see that in both sides. But yeah, it's interesting. Very interesting.
Thought we lost you for a second.
Yeah, the signal's not too great tonight for some reason. There's quite a lot of people here, so there's expected an extra 20,000 people in the village tonight. Yeah, and about 2,000 of them are policemen.
One of the things that you and I mentioned in a conversation together, how for me, one of the things, I give a big thanks to Shirley. Shirley says, "I love you,
Oh,
Abby."
Shirley, you're diamond.
The beautiful message to our top mod, Abigail.
You worked so hard, that.
She does everywhere you see her. I wanted to say thank you, Shirley, and thank you, top mod Abigail. Yeah, one of the things that you and I sort of talked a little bit about was how, for me, Course in Miracles seemed, because I came originally from Christianity, being a Catholic growing up, and I left it behind to follow a more Eastern realm. The Course in Miracles promised a almost, for me, perfect blend between East and West. Very deep in Western psychology and mystical traditions, and yet very Eastern in its non-dual approach.
Yeah, I came across the Cabal. It was the darker side first of all. When I started looking into it from Crowley, and then I kind of worked my way, reverse engineered my way through to the Tree of Life, and then connected it with the attachments to our chakras. And so it kind of does make sense how the path of the dark side can play for both parts, as it were. Both use exactly the same, just in almost in a mirror form, the left hand and the right hand, but it's the intent that you put into it.
Still with us?
Yeah, just about freezing though.
It's funny how you mentioned Aleister Crowley, how he was very enamored with a lot of the Eastern as well, that he integrated into a Western system. He basically practiced forms, not strictly speaking, but forms of tantric magic.
Yeah, he kind of went into the Egyptian as well. Yeah, he was a very travelled man, so he would have picked up quite a lot of experience on his way. And I think he probably would have looked at all different traditions in kind of anything mystic, with the mind,
Right.
which would then also automatically bring you into meditation and the Eastern philosophy.
You and I haven't talked much about is Gurdjieff.
Well, Oh yeah, we'll have to do a night. We'll have to do maybe next week.
He's a very interesting guy. I've done some of his practices years ago. To great benefit, actually.
Wow, it'd be good. Hello.
Yep. You
Just
faded out.
cutting out again.
Faded out for a bit, but you're back.
Yeah, I'm fading back again. Yeah, I'm gonna probably call this a night.
You gonna get a chance to enjoy some more of the fireworks, or are you going back in?
Yeah, I think the wife's going to be back soon, so we'll take over. She'll look after the cats and the dog. I've got the classic music playing in the other room, slightly loud for them, so got a bit of bark on for Cosmo.
Environment says, "Thank you, Sniper."
Thank you.
We'll wrap
I
things
hope
out.
someone got something out of it.
I think probably quite a few did, actually. And
I hope so.
we get the Esoteric Lounge gets some replays as well. So a lot of people like to
Nice.
visit.
That's good.
And
Good info to know.
yep, and I had, like I said,
I'll have to look.
I have the playlist up so people can dive in, watch every
Yeah.
single one of them.
That's great. I'll have to listen back to see how. I honestly didn't think you could hear me at all then, after all that noise, but yeah, good.
Environment says, "I always enjoy your holistic view."
That's
That
kind.
gives you a wave and some prayer hands.
Cheers. All right. Well,
Thank you, Rabbi.
have a good night, Eric.
You too, Sniper. Thank you.
I'll jump in the chat and just say hello to everyone.
Okay.
Cheers.
We'll keep it up for about 10 minutes more, guys. Very much appreciate you hanging out. Again, it is Wednesday night. It is the Esoteric Lounge. This is Squirrel Sniper's spot. This is where he belongs. This is where he teaches. If you have a subject, reach out to Sniper.
Yeah.
Someone has,
yeah. And if I don't know, I'll learn as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Take care.
All right. Thank you. Sissy says, "Thank you, Sniper." Let's see. Adam says, "I don't know what this means, but it keeps echoing in my head. Sniper and Yogi, very little that I know is actually useful. None of it is useful in a cosmic way." Interesting. What Adam, what do you think is interesting? What do you think is useful in a cosmic sense? But I think what you know, Adam, you're a kind-hearted person, and you are practicing the path of forgiveness. I think that might be all you need to know. Let's see. Voice of Freedom says, "Bro was a mind goblin." That says, "Rocket science." That would be pretty cosmic, wouldn't it? So, just a little recap on what's going on. I got some people reaching out to me. Coming up, we have Karen Zupak, sorry, who is a therapist. She is a psychotherapist who is a practitioner of Course in Miracles. She wrote a wonderful book on healing anxiety with the Course in Miracles, as well as breath work, some other tools, journaling for another, but very specific journaling. She's going to be out not this Friday, but next Friday. And I have a couple of other authors who have reached out. Someone with a brand new book on healing who is going to be out. So keep tuning in, guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone being here. Toy Pups is getting ready to go live. be a fun place to hang out. Me, I'm going to bed. I'm going to the doctor's tomorrow, getting some blood work done. I got some stuff. I got some stuff to do. Let's see. Adam says, cosmically, judgment blinds, kindness works. Miracles and response rather than reaction produces less karma, or at least a little bit better. I agree. I'd love to talk about that. I would have, if we had a little better connection, that would have been a great thing to talk with Sniper about. I've mentioned before. Thank you, Nature Dog. I'll give a quick synopsis here. The way to mitigate, if not entirely eliminate, karma. Karma is not punishment. No one's punished by karma. Karma is a natural action. Karma actually means action. Karma is a natural action of every single previous action that took place. We can think of it as cause and effect, but really it is effect, or cause, because every cause has infinite effects that immediately splinter off and have even more causes and effects after. So it's almost impossible to escape karma. So don't try. Now, yoga lays out 4 paths to escape karma. It has karma yoga. It's right in the title. It is a path of selfless service. If you are giving your services, if you're giving your every intention and your every thought towards God, towards the service of other people, then you're going to be reducing your karma naturally, right? Then we have Bhakti yoga, the yoga of devotion, and this is considered perhaps the highest yoga, the most direct path to God realization, and it is turning everything over to God. Everything. You're living a life of devotion. The third, jhana yoga, which is yoga of self-reflection, self-inquiry, and self-study. When you know the nature of itself, you can begin to mitigate the karmic footprint. Fourth is Raja Yoga, which is the yoga of, it's also called Royal Yoga or King Yoga, and it is that 8 branches of yoga. It's the one that I generally practice myself. It's the way of meditation. It's the way of breath work. It's the way of posture. It has steep ethical principles that you follow, as well as personal observations that you follow. Those are the 4 ways to mitigate. But here's the way that's not talked about. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is that 5th path of yoga. And this is a radical forgiveness. This is a forgiveness in which you see no sin. You see only the face of Christ in all of his distressing disguises. So I know on the level of the body, on the level of karma, on the level of action, you have done some things that are going to affect me. I wouldn't like that to end. I would like to be protected. So on the level of karma, I do what it takes to protect myself. I set boundaries. If someone breaks the law, you can still forgive them by seeing how lost that face of Christ is within them, but they still go to jail. So forgiveness doesn't mean that you are messing with the actions of the world. It means that you are freeing your heart from the restraints of not loving someone, because Christ resides in each and every person. 0 exceptions. 0 exceptions. It's an important thing to consider, because we would like to leave people out, because it's easier for us. I get it. I understand it. I've done it. I still do it. I see a little less Christ in someone that I don't like than seeing a lot of Christ in someone that I love. But I'm working on it. This is my path, my spiritual path. I'm very, very sincere. I stick to it every day. I was telling some Course in Miracles authors who are thinking about coming up and chatting. They were like, well, we're going to check out your channel. And I said, the talks that I have with people are wonderful. The rest of the time, it's a mess. It's supposed to be a mess. It's the internet. It's karmically impulsive, right? We're all reacting, but we're learning how to be responsive. responsibility, our ability to respond. That's the wonderful thing about a messy chat. That's the wonderful thing about these opportunities. We can instantly forgive someone. We can instantly love someone. We can instantly look for that face of Jesus, the face of Christ, the Buddha consciousness in another right now. Right now. In every single live stream, in every single internet chat, in every single whatever. It was tough, some of these political seasons on Facebook. I have family members on both sides of the aisle, and everyone's pushing, everyone is shoving, everyone wants you here. My job, your job, everyone's job is to love each other. Remember Ram Dass? Why are we here? We're just walking each other home. It's a good way to end the conversation. I very much appreciate Squirrel Sniper for allowing me to be the host for his Esoteric Cafe. He's the brains behind the outfit, guys. Adam says, I'm hoping for Dharma. Nature Guy says, never thought of it in that aspect. That makes sense. Sniper says, not partial to karma. Adam says, forgiveness is kind of like a Teflon that doesn't pollute the planet. There you go. Mark Twain had a wonderful quote. Forgiveness is the fragrance released by the violet Forgiveness is the fragrance shed by the violet upon the heel that has crushed it. Did you guys says forgiveness doesn't mean there still aren't consequences. Nope, but we get to mitigate our involvement. When we wish karma on someone else, because we think of it as justice and punishment, we're involving ourselves in the karmic path of someone else, meaning we are drawn into that karma. Now we've weaved ourselves into that web. Forgiveness removes us from that karmic circle. It removes us from the consequences of someone else's actions. Why would we want to be involved in someone else's consequences? Other than forgiving them and other than sending them love. Remember the great line in the Course that every attack is either a cry, an appeal for help, or ask for prayer. And if a brother is asking you for prayer or help, would you ever turn them away? That's hard. That's a hard practice. That is, man, forgiveness 101. Hey, Kayla. But we can get there. Michael, I hope you're feeling better, my friend. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you hanging out. All right, guys. Nature Guy says, I agree. Forgiveness is to set our hearts free for our own good. Absolutely. Absolutely, Nature Guy. Spot on. And beautifully said. Environment says, to reprogram our pathways, we need compassion. Yes. Compassion, empathy, kindness. Told the story, and I believe Alan Ishak, who was up Monday before last, told the story of the Dalai Lama when it was at the conference of religious leaders and everyone stood up to give their title and their tradition. The Dalai Lama stood up and very simply said, my religion is kindness. And he sat back down. You too, Nature Guy. All right, guys. I will be fasting in the morning. You'll see me at 5. I don't know how long I'll be live for. Adam says, I think it's tough when one we love is reaping karmic crap, even if we see it coming a mile away. Yep. That's the art of prayer. We can pray. We can minimize the karmic impact of others without becoming involved ourselves by sending love. Thank you, relaxing, my friend. Guys, thanks so much for coming and hanging out with me. A little bit. Shirley, Joshua. Love you guys. Relaxing. I hope all is well, my friend. Hammer says, of course. Thank you, Hammer. I hope your drive was good. Made it to West Virginia. I'm glad. We were sending prayers your way on your drive. Sniper says, you guys always make it hard to leave a conversation because I love talking to you. Sniper beautifully says, a great trinity. Empathy, compassion, and kindness. Yes, because they feed so well together, don't they? Environment says, it's like compassion brings presence, and presence has their lack. Man, you guys are spot on. And we can circle that back. Presence is love. Have you ever given someone your 100% presence, listening without formulating response as they're talking? That's presence. Presence is love, and love is always unconditional. The most beautiful description of love is St. Paul's letter to the Corinthians, I think, in any spiritual literature. Hi, Mercy, my friend. Sniper says, thanks again, Shirley. You know what? I don't know if Shirley knows. Hey, Dan. I don't know if Shirley knows the great gift that she actually gave. Speaking of what Environment said, presence. Shirley's presence. That was the gift. It always is. And it always was. So for that, Shirley. For the gift and for the gift of your presence. Adam says that was great, Sniper. Thank you and have a good night, everyone. You too. Mercy, we are ending the live stream. Love you. Much love to you, Dan. Thanks for coming in, Dan. As I mentioned in Leo's stream, I've never seen you this lean before. You are looking awesome. You've lost no muscle, but you're very lean. Environment says, thank you. Much love. Enjoy. You too. Thanks, guys. I will see everyone tomorrow. Same times.